Hello Internets, this is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Ohana to bring you another StarCraft 2 commentary. These players are going to be FaDeEdOne spawning as the red Protoss. His opponent is going to be AMR spawning as the blue Terran. Both of these players I believe are Masters League players, judging by the fact that they are very awesome indeed. And we expect to see some high level play. If not, find their profiles and just bash them with incoherent messages and hate mail. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. That would just be a terrible, terrible thing. And I don't want to be responsible for anything like that. But as stated, this is Ohana. Very easy to secure natural expansion. Medium-sized ramp leading to it. Destructible debris leading to the rear entrance of that expansion. While it also leads to the third expansion with a wide open area of engagement as well. Two Xel'Naga towers pretty much keep tabs of everything going up along the middle, while nice areas of air units being able, nice area for air units to just swing by and do plenty of drops here, there, and pretty much anywhere. And seeing as how this is a PVT, I expect to see drops in the near future. Already supply depot in a not so normal spot for AMR, already putting down his barracks. And over in Camp FaDeEdOne, we see his gateway being put down along the same times as a similar already being taken. So I expect to see some very natural progression out of these two players. Already a probe is pushing forward. Going to go ahead and check out that Xel'Naga tower immediately to make sure there's nothing sneaky going by, like say two SCVs, which would pretty much scream a proxy barracks. But he's going to go ahead and check on into the main base of AMR. Going to go ahead and swing around and pretty much check to make sure none of these gases are taken, or if they are, when they are taken, since no gas builds are very popular, especially with Terran nowadays, which pretty much scream a very, very quick expansion. FaDeEdOne just going ahead and scout out, seeing no gas is taken just yet, and going to go ahead and head on back home. A single Mariner is being trained at the barracks. Now, what I would like to note is, where do these Marines come from? Yes, we see that they're trained at the barracks, but where do they come from? We see no dropships bringing in those prisoners for training. We just see them coming out of this building. Just a little thing, a little food for thought for you guys. FaDeEdOne go ahead and takes that Xel'Naga tower proxy to his opponent's base, and just to keep an eye out for any kind of cheeky shenanigans, AMR is going to go ahead and put down an engineering bay in pretty much just a spot to block off any sort of quick expansion. The Zealot is there to go ahead and chase away this SCV very quickly. A couple of swipes brings it down. This engineering bay goes down very quickly. Hey AMR, just FYI, you aren't playing up against the Zerg. Just saying. Cybernetics core is finished up. Work gate is on the way. Chrono boost on that cybernetics core with a single soccer already being built. This Zealot and Probe are going to go ahead and tag team this engineering bay, while at the same time back in AMR's base, he's putting down his command center at his natural expansion. 3 Marines are going to go ahead and block off the entrance while a bunker is being built. So good for AMR. Going to go ahead and do that quick expansion of his own. And it looks like FaDeEdOne does a quick expansion of his own as well, with a single stalker and Zealot there to protect his own shenanigans. Pretty much just there to be there. Not sure exactly how much I agree with this play, especially since FaDeEdOne scouted the fact that there isn't any kind of quick gas being taken down, so he pretty much has to assume a quick expansion from his opponent. AMR was blocked for just a second supply block, that is, and FaDeEdOne is going to go ahead and push forward, see that bunker, and he loses that Zealot, so a bit of a miss micro there by FaDeEdOne. As soon as he saw that bunker, he should have pulled back. A robotics facility already underway, and I actually do agree with this, especially if he puts down a warp prism immediately, while putting down a couple of gateways as soon as possible. That way he'll be able to drop here, just pretty much negate the front bunker of AMR. And this is something that I do very regularly in my own play up against Terran, especially when they are doing a quick expansion of their own. I see that there's no gas being taken on my initial probe. I see that there's a bunker at the front. I just assume there's an orbital command being put down, or orbital command already down. Put down that robotics bay, chrono boost out that warp prism instead of that observer, and just start doing drops left and right. But AMR decides to push out with his very vastly superior Marine force at the moment. The looks like FaDeEdOne's Sentry does pull off 2 Force fields, I don't think 2 force fields aren't enough to block this off. If he does put a force field down here and here, the Marines can slip through one at a time. This observer does spot this squad of Marines, while a single one is going to go ahead and do some little bit of recon, but spotted by that stalker, taken down before any sort of reconnaissance can be gleaned from his scout. But it looks like FaDeEdOne decides not to do anything else with this robotics facility besides putting down another observer, and right now you have nothing to worry about. Observers are actually, one observer fine. If you want to go ahead and scout your opponent's base, that's a-okay, but at this moment, since you know he fast expanded, you know he has pure barracks, you know he doesn't have any factories up just yet, you know he doesn't have any starports because of it. So why put down that first observer and definitely not put down this second one? No, if your opponent fast expands as a Terran anyways, no medevacs can come out at the 9-minute mark, so you're pretty much just defending against something that's not going to happen anytime soon. Instead, put down that warp prism and just harass your opponent. You know your opponent's going to be spread pretty thin. You know your opponent is pretty much just focusing all his defense at the front, so just, you know, couple of zealots here, couple of zealots there, warp prism here, warp prism there, and pretty much just do the necessary thing by just aggravating your opponent. But FaDeEdOne is just going to go ahead and play it safe, play it securely, start chrono boosting out his Colossus. So very early Colossus, very early robotics bay, while only 3 warp keys at the moment. He's putting down a forge, a couple of pylons since he was supply blocked for just a second, and looks like AMR is going to go ahead and already has a nice selection of barracks, 3 barracks. Gonna go ahead and flip-flop that Stargate onto that reactor, and a nice little skull on that landing pad. We're going to go ahead and see medevacs underway in just a second as soon as he clicks that, and there's that first one. And I expect to see, as soon as we see 100 gas, I expect to see another one popping up any second. Now this observer is going to go ahead and spot for drops that aren't coming anytime soon, especially since these medevacs are going to go ahead and hang out in the front to protect them against any kind of initial aggression by FaDeEdOne. The extended thermal lance is about 50% of the way done, while another Colossus is about halfway finished as well. So good for FaDeEdOne to get out that quick Colossus count and actually see Vikings already being produced by AMR. Not sure if he scanned and saw exactly what was going on, but nope, it looks like he's just building blind, assuming Colossi are in the way, especially since he's just being able to build what he wants unharassed at the moment. +1 attack for FaDeEdOne, while AMR is going to go ahead and start his own harassment at the moment, and this is what kills a Protoss player: multi-pronged attacks by a Terran player. The cheap mobile units of the Terran forces are able to do this. I mean, you could drop here with small forces, overwhelm these 3 stalkers, poke here, and then drop here. And these drops, actually this drops are exactly what's going to happen. 2-pronged attack by AMR currently. We see one coming in from the east, one coming in from the south. And it looks like FaDeEdOne does spot one, but if he reacts in time is a whole nother story, because there is going to be another drop at the moment at his natural expansion, and FaDeEdOne does a natural response by pushing out. The drop is there. Looks like AMR spots these 3 stalkers, says I don't want any part of that. Looks like AMR is going to drop the Marines on the low ground to pick away at this pylon. Loses a single Marine at the moment, but this is just to draw the army from FaDeEdOne off guard. Looks like these stalkers are going to go ahead and push forward and going to go ahead and scout around this. Looks like this medevac is going to drop in the front. FaDeEdOne does a great job by warping in zealots or stalkers where they need to be. Is going to go ahead and focus fire down that medevac. No hope for pickup by these Marines, and FaDeEdOne does a great job by just keeping his losses to a minimum by microing the stalkers away from any fire. Looking at the units lost tab, we see 12 for AMR, 5 for FaDeEdOne. Resource count about the same. A scan does reveal absolutely just a chrono boosted out ground level armor for the Protoss player, while FaDeEdOne decides to take his 3rd. At the same time, AMR is just hanging out and not doing too much of his own. He's not gearing up to take any sort of extension, but he is trying to churn out those Vikings 2 at a time, while a 2nd starport is busy doing not much else. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 barracks are on the field, while the 3rd base finally does go up for AMR, but FaDeEdOne decides this is enough time to be hanging around on his base. He's going to go ahead and push forward. And what is the best way to hide your own expansion? To push forward on your own. Your opponent is going to be too focused on this attack to go ahead and try to scout out his opponent's third base, and that's exactly what he's doing. The Viking count does push forward, does do a couple of volleys. In 2 volleys brings down a single Colossi. Force looks like Guardian Shield does go up by FaDeEdOne. No blink just yet, so all of these units in the back are for nothing. Bad engagement by FaDeEdOne. Terrible engagement, I would say. He loses 2 of his Colossi to absolutely nothing and loses his entire army to just a basic MMM ball that is just stutter stepping forward and taking apart the entire Protoss forces. A final volley by these Vikings finally does take down that Colossi, and now FaDeEdOne is in full retreat, and that is something you don't want to do as an attacker. Engage in a disfavorable position, especially up the ramp. I mean, if FaDeEdOne had blink, he could have pushed forward with his entire army, blinked all his stalkers forward, and that would have gave his zealots enough of a window room to just push forward and do the damage he needed to be able to do significant damage or just be part of that battle at all. But now AMR is feeling great. Looking at the units lost tab, 34 units lost by FaDeEdOne, 37 by AMR. The resources are nearly double by FaDeEdOne, and AMR is just feeling great. He's going to go ahead and scan that third, is spotted immediately, and say, you know what, I am A-okay. I did significant damage. I'm going to go ahead and take down these destructible blocks. Going to go ahead and take my third and just hang out for the time being. Charge is being researched by FaDeEdOne, but AMR is putting up 3 more barracks in preparation for that third base to go up. A nice little pylon here by FaDeEdOne just in case his opponent decides to slip by and push forward on this third. Maybe he might be able to warp in units from the back, but those medevacs do spot high ground, so they will be able to be taken down very quickly by his opponent, especially if it does decide to push forward in that avenue of attack. Mass gateways are being researched, are being warped in, but AMR spots that with a single scan. And looking at the units, we see 15 Marauders, 41 Vikings, 41 Marines, 6 Vikings, and 5 medevacs. While FaDeEdOne only has 1 Colossi, 15 Suckers, and 2 Sentries, so this could end very terribly for FaDeEdOne. AMR pushes forward, tries to pick off that lone Colossi. Nice micro by FaDeEdOne to save himself, but at the same time, the entire army of AMR is in. FaDeEdOne's natural expansion takes down the Templar Archives, takes down that Forge. Vikings are done. Nice Force Shield split off the entire AMR army from pushing forward, and now it's actually full-on retreat for AMR. The food count is pretty much evened up. The Colossi still lives. It looks like AMR is going to go ahead and push forward, do some damage to these gateways. Managed to take down one, managed to take down a second one to 3/4 health. The Colossi is focus fired, is taken down. Charge is done. The Zealots do push forward and do as much damage as possible, but Center Step does save a lot of Terran units, while the medevacs are lagging behind. The Stalkers are pushing forward. Zealots do actually warp in and block off a bit of that Terran army. And again, the medevacs are there to pick that off very easily. And man, that is just precognitive by the caster. That caster sense, I swear to you guys, I did not watch this before, but everything I spoke about that pylon came true for me. Way to make me look good, FaDeEdOne. Way to make me look good, AMR. I appreciate it. A round of applause for you guys. I appreciate that every second that happened. Looks like Temple Archives are being researched yet again by FaDeEdOne. AMR finally has his third base up and running, and is going to go ahead and mining out with those OP mules while taking that his own Zelnaga Tower for vision. Looks like interesting play by FaDeEdOne taking that 4th base. The harvester count still does favor him, but only about 4 harvesters though. Mules more than make up for it, and AMR is going to go ahead and run around the map, see exactly what he can spot. Again, spawn that pylon, and why not take down a free pylon? That is A-okay in anyone's book, except if you are the Protoss losing that pylon. Looks like another Forge is being was put down by FaDeEdOne, but in a more defensive position alongside with those Templar Archives. And the 4th is being taken down by AMR yet again, and looks like a nice split off by AMR. He's going to go ahead and take up a nice squad of Terran units by attacking. Looks like he's going to go ahead and attack the extreme edges of the base. That observer is still there. for FaDeEdOne, and FaDeEdOne does spot it. So a nice high Templar is there. Gonna go ahead and feed back that medevac immediately, and 4 health. It manages to survive by just the hairs on its chin and head back home. One more volley would have taken care of it, but it looks like AMR spots that his opponent is going to leave, and not the one you want to be focused on. It looks like AMR loses an entire squad of forces. That High Templar was there, loses its life for no reason whatsoever. The Marauder already has 5 kills. Right up against those Stalkers, and that's the damage maker in this engagement. Zealots are warped in because they are the natural counter to that, but at the same time, FaDeEdOne is going to go ahead and push forward into the 4th of a FaDeEdOne. Focus fire down, stem forward, pushes forward. Looks like charge lots make mincemeat of a lot of these units. Nice split by AMR to keep the damage down to a minimum. Finally, the Colossi Storm gets a lot of good DPS on it, and another Storm just manages to get down a dead Marauder and does some shield damage to his opponent. Scan reveals everything that AMR already knows. He's going to go ahead and pull on back and sit himself on his own Xel'Naga tower. That Archon morphs into a High Templar, but without any shields, it's going to take quite a bit to recharge back up to 350. These destructible rocks made fun of these charge lots, so FaDeEdOne decided to take it down. Looks like AMR notices that they are busy. He's going to go ahead and push forward with a couple of Marauders. He's going to go ahead and try to pick off these High Templar. 1 High Templar does go down, but 2 more still survive to live to fight another day. A nice little squad of units from AMR is going to go ahead and push forward into the natural expansion of FaDeEdOne, while at the same time AMR pushes into the 4th base of the Protoss forces, but the units are there to repel it. These are doing plenty of damage to the expansion. Charge lots are there to take out the remaining forces of that squad, but another nice little nitpick army of AMR pushes forward into the 3rd expansion, but not much damage is being done for the drops, for the splits of AMR. He backed himself into a corner. He's going to lose all of these units, especially to these long-range Colossi. And at the same time, he didn't really do much else, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and push forward and try to pick off this 4th. But the Protoss army is in close proximity to that engagement. It looks like the assimilator might go down. Stim forward does manage to pick off a couple of these probes. A fresh warp in of Zealot's going to go ahead and very quickly take care of it. And now AMR looks like he's just a little bit lost, doesn't know exactly where to go. He finally picks up his forces and going to go ahead and push forward and into the main base of FaDeEdOne. The food count still does favor AMR, 162 to 132 by exactly 30. Going to go ahead and take down that forge. Going to go ahead and take it down very quickly. This might be canceled. It does not. It isn't canceled at the moment. Another push forward does occur by AMR. Picks off a Colossi. Finally, the FaDeEdOne's army does rejoin his main base, but there are just tearing units all over the map at the 4th, at the 3rd, in the main. The Protoss player doesn't know where to go. He cannot split off his entire army that effectively. Another fresh warp in by Zealots. Going to go ahead and push forward into the wrong direction. The robotics rate does go down. Templar archives go down. These Stalkers do not have blink, can take advantage of that. While again, another squad of Terran force pushes forward into the 4th base of FaDeEdOne. Going to go ahead and take it down. The army is cleaned up in the main base of FaDeEdOne, but at what cost? He lost that 4th base. Again, it looks like another pickup does occur. Looking at the income tab, we see the harvester count does now definitely favor AMR. And looking at the workers killed, 44 by AMR, 2 by FaDeEdOne. So that is exactly what AMR needed to do to get himself back in the game. It is looks like the 4th base was canceled, was forced to be canceled by FaDeEdOne, losing 100 minerals there very quickly. But another drop does occur in the main base. Not sure exactly where those units are being warped in, because there is another drop going on in the natural expansion of FaDeEdOne. And these back and forth action, this accordion style of play, brings down the cybernetics core, so only Zealots can be warped in at this point. Looks like the 2nd forge is going to be brought down by AMR, while huge damage is being done at the natural expansion. This army is cleaned up, but this army at the main base with the Marauder backup versus Stalkers. Finally, FaDeEdOne does manage to micro his Stalkers into a favorable position, but at what cost? He lost 3, 4, maybe 5 Stalkers and an entire engagement. Zealots are finally there to finish them off. But AMR decides to take his 5th, decides to take his 4th. He is A-OK. Looking at the income tab, we see it nearly at the 3rd of the Protoss player. And right now, FaDeEdOne is in a world of hurt. What he needs to do right now is try to do some drops of his own. But by the fact that AMR is just out dropping him, I do not see that happening. He is trying to warp in another Cybernetics core, but that is going to be a long time coming. It looks like FaDeEdOne has small amounts of units. He has 14 Zealots, 3 Colossi, and 9 Stalkers, while there are 23 Marauders, 20 Marines, and 8 Medevacs at the AMR's disposal. And I honestly do not see FaDeEdOne coming back in this game whatsoever. Looks like another final battle is going to go ahead and occur. FaDeEdOne does push forward with everything he's got, but AMR being very, very economical. Stutter steps away to lose, to manage to keep his losses down to a minimum. Finally, the Colossi are being focus fired. Nice split by AMR to keep that Colossus damage down to a minimum. Psionic Storms do come in, catch plenty of those Terran forces, but AMR senses the blood, feels the blood, tastes the blood, gives chase at any cost whatsoever, while dropping again in the main base of FaDeEdOne. Gonna go ahead and focus down that Cybernetics core very, very quickly. Stalkers, Zealots are there, but not before the Cybernetics core goes down. Looks like AMR is gonna go ahead and drop his units just willy-nilly anywhere possible, because he feels himself the victor at the moment. He's going to go ahead and re-macro up his army. FaDeEdOne at 51 food, AMR at 145. Going to go ahead and push forward with another squad of units. But FaDeEdOne says that is it. GG. WP means good game, well played. That is it. Woo! That was a very fun game to cast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, leave comments down below on what I could do to make these more enjoyable for you. Also, if there's a specific game you'd like for me to cast of your own playing, feel free to forward them to me. I'll be more than happy to try to cast them to the utmost tip-top something or other. That is it for me. I am out. You okay?